Hello and welcome back to the Allan Kardec USA channel, where we discuss the doctrine of Spiritism as codified in his writings by Allan Kardec. Today we're going to discuss a topic that has been fascinating to a lot of people. We're going to talk about psychics. Now, I'm using the term psychic here even though there really is no difference between a psychic or a medium or a clairvoyant or even a mind reader. There are psychics out there that probably don't really have an understanding as to how they are receiving the thoughts and visions that come to them. To put it simply, psychics are receiving their thoughts from the spirit world, from spirits. And maybe some psychics don't realize it. They just know that thoughts and images come to them, but haven't connected how it happens. They are getting it from spirits. Of course, a lot of people do not want to believe that such persons exist. And as I've explained in previous presentations that I've done here, a lot of that is to blame on the bombardment of charlatans we've had going back centuries. Charlatans are those who claim to have mediumistic abilities, usually to gain a profit or some sort of notoriety. Frauds. And unfortunately, there are a lot more frauds than there are true mediums or psychics. And because of that, many have concluded that nobody has that ability. Here is a scene from the movie The Changeling from the year 1980 that I've shown here before. Without going into too many details of the movie, a widower named John Russell is now living alone, and he's being haunted by the spirit of a little boy. He goes to visit a professor at a college who suggests that he seek help from a medium. And here is what that professor had to say.
What do I do now?
I tell you, off the record, we have coming here many mediums and spiritualists and so, and we test them. Now, 99% are the frauds, but the 1%, astonishing.
A medium.
He said 99% are utter frauds, but that 1%, astonishing. That gives you an accurate idea of the situation I'm talking about. Non-believers will come up with all sorts of questions by trying to establish logic into the matter. One of the many questions they ask is, well, if psychics were real, why don't they just use that ability to play the lottery, since he or she should know the winning numbers, or pick the winning horse at a racetrack? Here in a movie called The Gift from the year 2000. I'm going to discuss more about this movie later. I'm also going to show some scenes from the movie. Now, I had to record this movie by shooting video of the TV screen, so the image quality is not great. But going back to what I was talking about people who think psychics can't be real because if they were, they would be rich by knowing the winning numbers of a lottery, for example. Here in this movie, there's a moment where a lawyer defending his client accused of murder is cross-examining a woman named Annie Wilson, played by actress Cate Blanchett, who used her psychic abilities to find the dead body of a woman that the defendant is accused of killing. The lawyer wants to know why Annie is still poor. Why is she not rich?
Miss Wilson, you're a rich woman. No. Why not? If I had psychic powers like yours and could read the future, I'd be filthy rich. I'd be playing the stock market. I'd be over mobile betting on the dogs.
Well, it doesn't work that way, sir. I can't use my gift for personal gain.
Except for those, donations.
Annie doesn't really offer an explanation as to why she doesn't use her clairvoyant abilities to become wealthy. If she had studied Spiritism, she would know the answer. She only says, I can't use my gift for personal gain. Spiritism and the works of Allan Kardec teaches us that good spirits will never allow someone to use them for profit, to make a living by earning money from communications with the spirit world. And bad spirits do not have the ability to disclose future events. The laws of providence, God's laws, don't allow them to have that ability. So bad spirits are not able to communicate to a psychic or a medium the winning numbers of a lottery ticket. And bad spirits will have their fun by messing with you and giving you the wrong numbers. Allan Kardec's works also explain that spirits do not like being tested. They refuse to subject themselves to tests to know if they are real. That is why spirits will typically only reveal themselves to people who already believe in their existence. In a room full of people that don't believe at all in spirits, they won't show up.
Why have you called me here?
Ms. Wilson, tomorrow Donnie Barksdale goes on trial for murder, and I feel that we have a powerful case. Now, I only have one weak link I gotta worry about.
What?
You. You see, you're how we found out where the victim's body was. And how you found out, well, that might open up a real can of worms for us. Psychic phenomena, ESP, dreams, visions.
Me and Wayne Collins and Kenneth King went to see a woman named Annie Wilson.
What made you think this woman would be able to help you?
Well, word around town was that she was a well, I don't know what the right word is.
Isn't it fortune teller? What did this fortune teller see when she looked into her little crystal ball?
Well, she didn't have no ball. She had these special cards.
What did she see when she looked into her little special card?
She didn't actually see nothing then, but next day she come to see me and told me she'd had this dream.
She had a dream?
Yes, sir.
Miss Wilson? How many fingers am I holding up behind my back?
Objection, Your Honor.
Your Honor, my client is sitting in this courtroom on trial for his life, partly because of powers that this woman claims to have. Now, in all fairness, I believe I should be given the opportunity to test the alleged powers instead of having to stand here and take her word for it.
You have a good point. Objection overruled.
Can everyone in the jury box see how many fingers I'm showing? How many fingers, Miss Wilson?
I don't know.
You don't know? 7. 7 fingers.
No, that doesn't prove anything. Your Honor, I can't do this. You know, the drop of a hat.
Well then, ma'am, how about doing it at the drop of a dollar bill?
What are you trying to say?
Trying to say maybe this special gift of yours doesn't work unless you're being paid for it.
Well, I don't charge money.
You just testified that you do
No.
charge money.
I accept donations. People give me gifts.
Oh, a distinction worthy of a lawyer.
Annie simply answers the question of how many fingers the lawyer was holding behind his back by saying, I don't know. Personally, I would like to have heard an explanation as to why she doesn't know. Once again, she is a psychic, and just like many other psychics out there, she is unaware of how good spirits refuse to be tested because she didn't study Spiritism. Not according to this movie anyway. The Gift, like I said, is a movie from the year 2000. It has an all-star cast that includes Cate Blanchett, Keanu Reeves, Giovanni Ribisi, Hilary Swank, Greg Kinnear, and quite a few other big stars. If you would like to see this movie, it is available right now on Pluto TV that you can stream for free. I will leave a link to the movie in the description below. It's totally free and you don't need to register or sign up or anything. If you do plan to watch The Gift, I can tell you that there is some violence profanities spoken, and brief adult content. It is a really good movie that I highly recommend. I'll be discussing more about scenes from that movie in this presentation. Unfortunately, I will have to provide a spoiler, especially regarding the surprise ending, because there is so much involving Spiritism and the spirit world in the final scenes. In a scene from the movie, police go to visit Annie at her home, along with the father of a woman who has gone missing. Annie is known around town as a psychic, and police have reached the end of all leads to follow regarding the missing woman. The missing woman's father, who happens to be a very prominent and wealthy businessman, is now willing to try anything. And with police present, he asks Annie for help. The police investigator leading the investigation is very doubtful and considers seeing Annie as a total waste of time. But he's willing to give the missing girl's father an opportunity.
Heard about my daughter's disappearance.
Yes.
Well, Miss Wilson, I don't believe in what you do. I'll just be straight with you. Not only that, I don't like it, but we've got to the end of the road in our investigation, looked under every rock there is to look under, and we'd like you to tell us what you can to help us.
So I'm afraid that she might have been kidnapped or something.
Oh, Mr. King, I'm sorry. I don't know anything about your daughter's disappearance.
I think we were just hoping. Is there anything you can tell us?
I could read for you.
Oh, boy.
Please, ma'am, just try to tell us what you see.
I'm trying. Alright, well, I'm picking up. It's like it's a fence. Like a split rail fence.
Do you know how many fences there are in this county?
And some pillars, like with an opening going through. And there's lots of white flowers.
Yeah, yes, and is that where Jesse is?
No, that's all I'm seeing.
This is just mishmash. I told you this wouldn't lead to nothing.
You're right. It won't. I can't concentrate.
In case anyone out there is unaware, this scene from the movie has actually happened in real life. There are numerous incidences where police departments have been at their wits' end trying to solve the mystery of a missing person or trying to solve a murder and have called on a psychic for help. Now, here's one of those questions of logic I was referring to earlier. Then why don't psychics just tell police about every missing person or help to solve every murder or robbery or other crimes? The answer to that question would take us on an entire discussion about our purpose here on earth as designed by our God. I did cover that topic in a previous video, but we would have to get into all there is to know about how reincarnation is our way of reaching perfection of the soul through rigorous trials and expiations here on earth by removing karma from ourselves each time we come back in a new human body. That discussion could take hours. To put it simply, as explained by the teachings of Spiritism, sometimes we are not allowed to know the location of a missing person or to know immediately who killed a loved one or who robbed your house, so that we experience trials during our incarnation here on earth related to those incidents. It all leads back to removing karma. I'll give you a quick example. and God forbid this ever happens to you. But if someone very dear to you suddenly goes missing and is never seen or heard from again, it might be because in a previous life you were responsible for causing that same heartache to a family. So you must now experience what it is like. And so it happens to you in this life. What will happen is after you die and return again, you will never have the inclination to cause someone to go missing. You get it? Then you might ask, well, if we don't have memories of our past lives, how will I know not to cause that pain to someone's family? I have also explained that in previous presentations. While you don't have specific, detailed memories of your past lives, your soul, your spirit, your soul does retain that memory. And your soul provides you with instinctual impressions and intuition. Trust me, you will know not to do that again. And then it's on to resolving other karma. But back to true cases of psychics solving crimes. In 1988, Rosemarie Kerr of California took the stand in a trial in Louisiana, 2,000 miles away, to tell how she helped solve the murder of Andre Daigle from her home in California. Rosemarie said that she led Daigle's family to his missing truck that was driven away by two men. Rosemarie said that she had communicated with the spirit of Andre Daigle, who let her know the men beat and strangled him before dumping his body in a swamp. Rosemarie had never been to Louisiana before this incident. In 1987, Elizabeth Cornish, a 42-year-old nurse and mother of 5, was beaten to death in her New Jersey apartment. The only suspect was Cornish's boyfriend. Elizabeth's sister approached a known psychic named Nancy Weber for assistance. Nancy Weber knew immediately that Cornish's boyfriend had not committed the crime. At the scene of the crime, Weber told police the killer lived right upstairs. Weber's description of the killer matched 33-year-old John Reese, who lived in the apartment above Cornish. Now, John Reese was able to provide an alibi for the time of death. However, Weber was relentless in her belief that Reese was the killer and that the time of death was actually 4 hours earlier than the medical examiner had determined. Upon re-examination, the coroner realized his mistake and changed the time of death. John Reese later confessed and was sentenced to life in prison. Only a couple years ago, in 2022, a man named Austin Larson went missing in a wooded area in Michigan. When his phone died and he did not return, his mother, Jessica Larson, got nervous. Search and rescue teams looked for Austin with no luck. A friend of the mother, Kat Girard, who has psychic abilities, stepped in to help. Kat said she had a map, and with the help of spirit guides, she drew a circle on the map. Austin was found unconscious right at that spot and taken to a hospital where he eventually recovered. In what was a huge, high-profile case, Casey Anthony, who was on trial in Florida for the murder of her daughter Caylee, is a story that I'm sure many of you have heard about. In November 2008, little Caylee was considered missing, and a psychic in Virginia named Jeanette Matacia Lucas was on the phone with a private detective working for the Anthony family in Florida. She directed him to a wooded area. She told the detective that she has visions of 3 large rocks, and the detective confirmed that he can see that. She said Caylee is somewhere near those rocks. The detective was telling Jeanette that he doesn't see Caylee, but Matacia Lucas insisted that she was getting visions that Caylee is in those woods somewhere. About a month later, by chance, a utility worker for the city who said he had gone into the woods to urinate discovered Caylee's remains. Right there in the woods where the psychic had insisted Caylee was located, near those 3 large rocks. Non-believers have referred to the situation as a lucky guess. There is just one more fascinating case that I want to tell you about. This woman here is Etta Louise Smith. In 1980, she was a professional working at the Lockheed Aerospace Company in Burbank, California. Etta was not involved regularly in practicing as a medium or a psychic. She was raising her children and going to work at an office. That's it. She has said, however, that since she was a little girl, she has had strange visions and premonitions of future events that later did happen. But she had shrugged it off as coincidence and always tried to ignore it. Well, in November of 1980, Etta Smith was arrested by the Los Angeles Police Department because she had told police detectives the exact spot where to find the dead body of a missing person. Yes, she was arrested and taken to jail. It all began when Etta went to work one morning and a radio was playing. Suddenly, there was a news announcement on the radio reporting that a young woman, a nurse named Melanie Uribe, had gone missing, and if anyone is aware of her whereabouts, to please contact police. Etta would later say that as she was listening to the announcement, strong visions of a woman lying dead in a wooded area consumed her mind. She said it was like watching a movie. Not only images of Melanie Uribe, but of the location. She said the images were relentless throughout the day, and as she was driving home, it continued. She said the visions were so strong and overwhelming that she felt it won't stop until she reports it to the police. So, as crazy as it seemed to her, she decided to go to the police station and tell a detective about her visions. She started out by telling the detective that Melanie Uribe might be dead and she's in a wooded area in a canyon, and that Melanie is wearing white sneakers and her pickup truck was burned. The detective obviously thought this was all a waste of time, but he decided to be polite because she looked so professional and continued questioning her. He then walked her over to a map and asked her if she can pinpoint the location. She said yes and pointed to a spot in a canyon known as Lopez Canyon, way out in Los Angeles County, about 27 miles away from downtown LA. However, Etta didn't think police were going to take her seriously, and the visions continued relentlessly. She decided to go with her family to the canyon, and soon after arriving, there was the dead body of Melanie Uribe in the woods. She was wearing white sneakers. Police also later discovered her burned pickup truck in another location. Police went out to investigate and arrested Etta Smith that same day. And the following day, they charged her with murder. As it turns out, in the following days, some witnesses came forward saying they saw 3 men force their way into Melanie Uribe's pickup truck while she was stopped at a red light, and they drove off. And then an informant came forward to identify one of the men. That man was picked up, and he ultimately confessed to the assault and murder of Melanie Uribe. And not long after, they arrested his accomplices, whom also confessed. But police refused to release Etta Smith. They said that she must be involved somehow because of all the details she knew about the crime. However, police could find no evidence whatsoever that Etta had any connections to Melanie or the men that murdered her, and she had a rock-solid alibi for the time the crime occurred, and she was eventually released after 4 days in jail. I'd like to think, after making believers out of some of those police detectives. Others who commented on this case had said the same thing as others before them, that it was a lucky guess. I can tell you about many, many more true cases like this, not movies. There are literally hundreds, maybe thousands of them. Most of them can be found on the web, of cases in the United States, Europe, and other places of the world. That's a lot of lucky guesses. If you would like to see a full episode on the case of Etta Smith and Melanie Uribe, it can be seen here on YouTube, and I will leave a link for that as well in the description below. Back to the movie The Gift. We clearly see the connection between psychics, or clairvoyants, and spiritism when at first Annie Wilson is visited by her deceased grandmother.
Thanks, sir. Hey, Annie Belle. Granny, what are you doing here?
I brought you some persimmons, hon. Remember how you liked persimmons when you was little?
Granny, you're not supposed to be here. How'd you get here?
Oh, it ain't fur to walk. Well, hon, I better get back. Looks like there's a storm coming.
No, Granny. It's clear.
Annie, always use your instinct, honey.
This is a perfect example that psychics are guided by spirits. Once again, that is exactly how they get their communications and their visions, from spirits. Annie gets visions of the missing woman, who Annie says might be dead, the victim of a murder. She tells investigators that she is sunk in a pond of water and has chains wrapped around her body. And she provides a description of the location, which the sheriff realizes is the property of Donnie Barksdale, played by Keanu Reeves. Her body is found in the pond on his property, and they also learn that Donnie Barksdale was having an affair with the woman. These visions in Annie's head, where did they originate from? All she knows is that it's in her mind, the way she remembers a dream. Many psychics probably don't think about how they get their visions. They just know they get them. Spiritism is here to tell them that they got it from spirits, for the ones that are not aware. After Donnie Barksdale is found guilty and sent to prison, Annie has more visions and visits the prosecutor at his home. She tells him that Donnie Barksdale did not kill the woman, but she doesn't know who did. She insists to the prosecutor that he find a way to reopen the case and release Donnie Barksdale from prison. Meanwhile, a young guy named Buddy Cole was having mental issues, and Annie had been trying to help him using her psychic abilities. He was relying on Annie for assistance. Later, Buddy Cole set his father on fire because his father had been abusive to him when he was a little boy. And Buddy Cole got sent to a mental hospital where he would remain incarcerated. Near the end of the movie, we have our moments where we really aren't talking about psychics anymore. We are now talking about the actual apparition of a spirit and how the spirit world is involved in this story. How a spirit is involved. A man named Wayne Collins, the fiancé of the woman that was killed, who happens to be a principal at a high school, asks Annie to please let him know who killed his fiancée. Annie tries to establish visions in her head, but she is unable to. Wayne suggests to Annie that by returning to the pond where she was found, that may stir something in her visions.
How about what you said today?
What?
The pond. And what if we did go back out there? Do you think that might help you?
I don't know. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, okay, well then it's worth a try, right?
So Wayne convinces Annie to go with him to the pond. While at the pond, Annie finally realizes from her visions that Wayne, the fiancé, is the killer.
What are you doing here?
You seeing something? Donnie Barksdale.
So?
Why would you do this to me? I love you.
We're through. I don't like being spied on. The only reason I'm with you is because my daddy likes you.
Joker. I'm a little...
If you don't let go of me, you let go.
I think we better go back.
Nothing's coming to you?
No. Nothing.
I knew if I got you close enough to it that you'd see it.
And he realizes that she is onto him, and he tries to kill her. But Buddy Cole, who had been taken to a mental hospital after trying to kill his father, quickly appears and strikes Wayne in the head.
You all right, Miss Wilson?
Rendering him unconscious. They put Wayne in the trunk of the car and drive to the police station. Buddy explains to Annie that he had escaped from the hospital and that he is now free.
We're gonna have to go back. Yes, ma'am, I know.
Inside the police station, the sheriff tells Annie that Wayne has confessed to the murder. He also tells Annie that's quite a lump that she put on his head. Annie says she didn't hit Wayne, that it was Buddy Cole who hit him, and he saved her life. The sheriff tells Annie that's impossible because Buddy had committed suicide earlier that day at the hospital. And Annie realizes that Buddy wasn't actually alive when he was with her that night.
How's his head?
Well, you put a pretty good dent in it.
Oh, no, Sheriff. I told him. The deputy. It wasn't me who did that. It was Buddy Cole. He saved me.
No, ma'am, it weren't Buddy.
Well, yes, it was. Sheriff, I'm telling you, it was
Ma'am,
Buddy
ma'am,
Cole.
what I'm trying to say is, it couldn't have been Buddy. I just called over to the state hospital.
He told me he escaped.
Ma'am, Buddy Cole is dead. He hanged himself in the shower room. 6 o'clock this evening.
Please be sure to subscribe to this channel so that you are alerted when the next video is uploaded. You may also share your comments below Or if you would like to write to me personally, I can be reached at cardecusa@gmail.com. My name is Ciso. Take care and have a blessed